Alright, and we back on the forecast. So in Delaware, a paralyzed brother in a wheelchair, Jeremy Mcdole, was shot 16 times by Wilmington Police. Now let's see how a man in a wheelchair can get shot that many times by the police.
He's over here! Give me your head! Show me your head!
Oh, shit.
Show me your head! Show me your head! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Grab it. Coming this way, what the fuck?
Hands up! Hands up! Put your hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Put your hands up!
Put your hands up, cuz. They shot his ass.
Hands!
He's reaching to get. Oh, he bleeding. He's bleeding.
Grab his hand! What the fuck?
They shot him with a pellet gun. You know, stun gun to knock you out. Man, put your hand.
That was
New and troubling video, a deadly encounter with police, this time in Delaware. 4 officers rushing to the scene. 2 of them you can see here, their weapons drawn, pointing at a young man in a wheelchair. Moments later, a hail of gunfire, and here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
New accusations tonight of police using excessive deadly force caught on cell phone video.
Give me your head! Show me your head!
Police make this demand more than a dozen times.
Show me your head!
4 Wilmington, Delaware officers with guns drawn Wednesday afternoon, responding to a call of a man with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Drop the gun!
28-year-old Jeremy Mcdole was previously paralyzed from the waist down from a gunshot 10 years ago. On Wednesday, police say they thought he was reaching for a gun. Moments later, a barrage of bullets, killing him. Mcdole's mother disputes police, who say a gun was recovered near her son's body.
This is unjust. He had his hands on his lap when they opened and fired on him 5 more times.
The 4 officers involved have all been put on paid administrative leave pending an investigation. In the last 5 months, there's been a sharp uptick in officer indictments. At least 14 police officers have been charged with committing murder, homicide, or manslaughter while on duty. Some say it's because so many of these incidents are videotaped. It is unclear whether the 911 call saying that he shot himself was accurate. The local NAACP is asking for an independent investigation.
So the police said they got a call about a man in a wheelchair who had shot himself and had a gun in his hand. Even though later, after she was questioned, the woman who called 911 said she never saw a gun. But 4 Wilmington police officers ended up responding to the call. Officer Joseph Dellose, who was the first one to fire, Officer Danny Silva, Officer Thomas Lynch, and Officer James MacColl all ended up responding to the call. Now, Officer Joseph Dellose said this brother Jeremy Mcdole wasn't responding to his commands like a good nigga is supposed to. He said he could tell he looked at him, and he claimed at that point he saw his right hand and the handle of a gun. But an investigative report in the video shows that Officer Dellose fired his gun 2 seconds after he said, "Show me your hands." It only took 2 seconds for him to fire his shotgun, and then he kept yelling for him to put his hands up, saying that he wasn't complying. Nonetheless, the police said they were in fear for their lives, and they were in fear for each other's lives, so they had no choice but to shoot this brother in a wheelchair 16 times.
The ambulance on, what street is this? By AutoZone on Lancaster Scott. Yes, we need a police, we need an ambulance. The man just shot himself in the AutoZone parking lot. He shot himself. He was sitting here, he shot himself. And he's falling out in the wheelchair, and he's laying here on the ground.
Okay.
Please send the ambulance to the police.
Okay, look,
okay,
stay on the line with
AutoZone
me,
is Scott
okay?
Street.
Stay on the line.
AutoZone at Scott Street. Please send somebody. Oh, my God. Please send somebody. Quick. AutoZone at Scott Street.
Give me your head! Show me your head!
Oh, shit.
Show me your head! Show me your head! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Rob it.
Shot him with a bullet hole.
Coming this way.
Behind you, Judge. Hands up! Hands up! Put your hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Put your hands up!
Put your hands up, cuz. They shot his ass. He's reaching to get. Oh, he bleeding. He's bleeding.
Grab his hand! What the fuck?
They shot him with a pellet gun. You know, thumbs on the knockout. Man, put your hands
Sure.
That was sick. We call for calm and peace on the streets.
This is unjust. He was in a wheelchair, paralyzed from the waist down. There's video showing that he didn't pull a weapon. He had his hands on his lap when they opened and fired on him 5 more times.
When Mr. McDole began to remove the weapon from his waist, the officers engaged him. And as a result of the injuries Mr. McDole sustained, he lost his life.
We have an unfortunate situation here, but we will get to the bottom of this. We want answers just like you want answers. This will be investigated to the fullest.
We will see to it that a fair and impartial investigation and determination is made in this matter. We all realize this is not business as usual, and we all take our responsibilities seriously.
Now, the police claim they found a stolen .38 near him, and even though he had supposedly shot himself, none of the bullets that were in him was from that .38. His family said that the police planted that gun on him, noting that you don't see a gun fall on the ground when he falls out the wheelchair. You never see a gun in the whole video. And in fact, there are reports that he was the one who was robbed earlier. And even in the transcript to the 911 call, the dispatcher is heard saying they're going to take him out. And the person who called 911 said, "Oh my Jesus, don't kill him." But even with so many contradictions in the story, especially with the cop story, and the promise for a fair investigation, eventually the DOJ decided not to press any charges on any of the cops involved.
A Delaware Police Department is under fire this morning over the shooting death of a man in a wheelchair. We are now getting a chance to hear part of the frantic 911 calls. Let's listen in.
Yes, we need a police, we need an ambulance. The man just shot himself in the AutoZone parking lot. He shot himself. He was sitting there, he shot himself, and he's falling out in the wheelchair, and he's laying here on the ground. Okay. Please send the ambulance and the police, please.
So if you listen to that closely, the caller told the dispatcher the man was on the ground and that he was waving a gun. But the family says an eyewitness tells a different story. Natasha Brown from affiliate KYW has details.
A makeshift memorial illuminates the scene where 28-year-old Jeremy Mcdole lost his life. Wilmington Police were called to the 1800 block of Tulip Street Wednesday afternoon, responding to a call of a man with a gun and self-inflicted gunshot wound. In this video, first obtained by Eyewitness News, you see officers surrounding the wheelchair-bound Mcdole, continuously asking him to drop the gun and put your hands up. Then you hear a rapid succession of gunfire.
Watch the video. They shot my son so much till he fell out the wheelchair. He fell out the chair on the ground.
The victim's mother has seen the video and is demanding answers, saying the video never shows her son with a gun.
When the officers engaged him, they were able to see that he had a weapon, and information prior to them getting there was that he had inflicted injury upon himself with a handgun.
The city's mayor and other officials held a news conference vowing to launch a full-scale investigation into this police-involved shooting, while family members continue to grieve their loved one at this vigil.
That's my friend, and it needs to be some justification going on around here.
The 4 officers involved in the shooting have been placed on administrative leave. The Wilmington Police Department is defending its officers. Officials say they haven't authenticated that cell phone video. An investigation is underway.
So even though they did give his family a $1.5 million settlement, and the DOJ report said that Joseph Dellose shouldn't be working in a position that he needs to carry a firearm, they used a Delaware statute that gives cops immunity to use deadly force if they believe it's necessary to protect themselves or others. And it's not just Delaware, it's every state in America. America gives cops license to kill you. And the police and the DOJ said that since Jeremy was reaching for his side right before getting shot, that is self-defense, even though that contradicts what you see in the video. And you never once see a gun and you see him shot immediately. But they tried to criminalize this paralyzed brother in order to justify the shooting. They were claiming that he was on drugs at the time of the shooting, as if that would justify shooting somebody in a wheelchair 16 times. But they didn't mention the cop Joseph Dellose's history one time. They didn't mention the fact that he was involved in a shooting back in 2010. One cop described it as a similar case to this case. But the media wouldn't mention that one time. They just bring up the fact that Jeremy Mcdole may have been on drugs at the time. Even with video, they expect us to take their word, which contradicts the video. But they know how to stay on code and they know how to protect each other. They understand the importance of protecting each other. They put it in their state constitutions. They put it in their laws. They put it in their statutes that a cop has immunity to kill somebody to protect themselves or to protect others. But when it's time for us to protect ourselves and to protect each other, all we can do is stand there and pull out a cell phone and record it. They justify themselves because you might have a gun and you might shoot somebody. Meanwhile, our blood has been shed for hundreds of years and we don't do anything about it. All we can do is cry and beg for justice until we decide to take it in our own hands and make our own statutes that give us immunity to protect ourselves and to protect each other. But that won't happen until we're on code. We have had far too much bloodshed to still be arguing about tribal differences. Protecting ourselves and protecting our children should be more important than any of that. That should be enough for us to put aside our beliefs and whatever differences we have. But until we do that, then we're stuck in the same situation.
Police, raise your hands or I'll kill you. That's not what was said to Jeremy Mcdole that day, but that's what the Wilmington Police Department directive on the use of force says. It says the police shall identify themselves as police and shall warn the accused before using lethal force. Imagine me sitting here with a hoodie, my hands in a hoodie. You can't see my hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. That's what the Wilmington Police did in November 2007, if you check your records, with Marine Sergeant Derek Hale. He couldn't get his hands out quick enough. He was shot 3 times dead in the chest. Surely the Wilmington Police Department can train its officers better when they feel that they're endangered than executing someone simply because they can't see their hands.
The young, handicapped black man died here. The poorly trained Wilmington police officers have killed others in the past. The family and the community need to know the facts, and they need to know the facts now. Neither the Wilmington Police Department nor the Attorney General can give us unbiased facts. As far as we know, the AG's office has never once prosecuted a Delaware cop for killing anyone. And so, out of a sense of public duty to Jeremy, to his family, and to the entire community, we as his attorneys have agreed to file this lawsuit for one purpose and one purpose alone, in order to get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
How's that feel? Get out! Get out! Get out now!
For real?
There's 3 numbers I could dial. 911. Okay?
Yeah, right.
Get out. Little punks.
Get charges after she was recorded yelling and hitting a teen at a neighborhood pool.
Out! Get out! Get out!
Well, it happened in Somerville over the weekend. A 15-year-old told police that Stephanie Serby-Strempel told him and his friends that they didn't belong there, and then started calling them punks and using racial slurs. The teen says that they were respectful. They began to leave, but then the woman started following them and attacked him.
Child, including mine or anybody else's, ever deserves that type of abuse or treatment, or to be struck not once, not twice, but 3 times by someone that is upset because of the color of someone's skin.
On Monday, deputies say they went to arrest Serby-Strempel when she pushed a detective into a wall and then bit another one on the arm. She is now charged with assault and battery and wounding an officer while resisting arrest.
I need you to tell me, because I live in this neighborhood. You tell me.
He has a camera. He has a camera on right now.
Good. Is there an ordinance that we have to show ID to use the pool? It's
the
exactly.
Right,
where does it say that I have to show an ID to use my pool, my own pool?
It doesn't say she has to show an ID anywhere.
Does it say that?
Officer Lazuski and McCann, what do you recommend in terms of proceeding?
And
here?
Nobody else was asked their ID. I am the only black. I feel this is racial profiling. I'm the only black person here with my son in the pool, right?
My son is also black. He's in the pool.
And he walked only to me to ask for my ID.
I ask residents pretty much a couple times a week.
He asked for my. First of all, he asked for my address. I gave it to him. Okay. And then he came back and said, "Well, I didn't catch your address.
As long as it matches Sally Kirk, I'm fine."
Correctly. So, can you provide an ID to prove the address that you gave to me? And I said, why do I need to show you my ID? Is there an ordinance in the neighborhood for me to show my ID?
There like a sweat card or something?
Yeah. Yes, I have. That's how I got it. So this is what can I charge against him for racial profiling? Because this is ridiculous.
That would be a civil dispute, ma'am. You'd have to take that before a civil magistrate. Okay.
I'm just here with my baby, swimming.
And I understand completely, okay?
So you've just wasted taxpayers' money by wasting their time to come here. That's what it is.
If she has a card to get in the pool, I believe that should be enough.
Okay, let's validate that it works then. They can close the gate.
But where does it say, I need an ID? He asked for ID.
Well, and I mean, I'm a courtesy officer as well. We don't have IDs. At the pool, I don't ask for IDs, but they have like little wristbands and stuff like that.
We have our pool card.
Okay.
So where's the sign?
What's that?
Where is the sign? Yeah.
I'm not sure the lifeguards are signing in today.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody. I didn't.
So there's like no sign.
There's nothing.
Like
I didn't sign in.
The pool was closed yesterday due to a flood, and so they had to clear off the whole pool deck. So I don't know that they were focusing on it. But
will you have a key card to get into the pool?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Just show access to the pool.
Do you have your key card?
I do have my key card.
Would you mind if I see your key card?
I don't mind showing it to you.
Okay.
But it's not a requirement for me to use the pool like he was requesting.
Right, I understand.
Here's my pool card.
Because that's required for you to actually even.
For me, am I going to jump over the fence? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm with a baby.
Hold on.
Am I going to throw the baby over?
We're going to shut this and prove to this gentleman that this turns green real quick.
Right.
And then we shouldn't have a problem, all right? Turns green and it unlocks.
Great.
There you go, sir.
All
right.
Perfect.
All right, ma'am. Well, I apologize for the time and the altercation that occurred, okay? Do you need anything from us?
No, I don't. Okay. I'm sorry that you wasted your time to come here.
Sir, do you need anything from us?
No, a form ID would be helpful to validate.
It would be nice if you apologize.
Well, and I understand that, but again, like she said, it doesn't show. Usually, it says all residents and guests must sign in, but there's no sign in. Right. So she has her swipe card. I think that should be enough that proves that she's a resident. You guys just don't hand that out to everybody, right?
Yeah, they kind of make their way around sometimes. It's the only challenge. So, but that's good enough for me today.
Okay.
Do you want to apologize, Adam? Adam, do you want to apologize for what you just did?
So let's go get big kids where they. What's that? Can you go get a hold on Addison?
Do you want to apologize, Adam, for what you did?
Just provide the address would be fine.
Agnes Hicks's obituary. This was for her viewing and funeral that was held here inside this church Tuesday morning. Hundreds of people showed up to pay their respects, but it all ended abruptly when someone knocked over and damaged the church's sacred cup, also known as a chalice. A cell phone records a chaotic scene from the church pews as an argument between the pastor and family laying their loved one to rest escalates, while the body of 54-year-old Agnes Hicks lays in her casket right nearby. A short time later, the family is seen carrying out her casket to leave, with shocked attendees and police cars in the parking lot.
This was uncalled for, uncalled for at that church, and it really hurt me, really do. To see your loved one come there to rest and be shut down like that.
Hicks's family is still traumatized over what happened. They say Agnes Hicks was baptized as a young girl at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Charlotte Hall, and it's where she had always wanted her funeral. But things got ugly at her viewing with Pastor Michael Breezy. This is a photo of him from the church's website, when family says someone went in for a hug and accidentally knocked over the church's sacred chalice near the altar.
That's when all hell broke loose. He literally got on the mic and said there will be no funeral, there will be no mass, no repast. Everyone get the hell out of my church. He was disrespectful. He disrespected our family. He disrespected my mother. He called my mother a thing. He said, get this thing out of my church. Everyone get the hell out of my church. It was very sad. It was very sad. And I never seen anything like that before.
Family says the pastor then called police.
Bad enough we had to bury our own mother yesterday. But for you to say she's a thing and it will be no funeral, you're not a preacher. You're not a pastor. You're not a father of the Lord. You're not none of that. Acting like that, you're the devil.
When officers arrived, they determined the family was not in the wrong and escorted them to a funeral home out of the county, where another pastor performed their funeral service. Meanwhile, the Archdiocese of Washington has issued an apology to the family that reads in part, quote, "What occurred at St. Mary's Parish does not reflect the Catholic Church's fundamental calling to respect, nor does that incident represent the pastoral approach the priests of the Archdiocese of Washington commit to undertake every day in their ministry."
My mom was supposed to have a great funeral, and all this came up, and now I'm so traumatized about it. I'm gonna keep thinking about this every day. I can't never forget this day.
The Archdiocese adds that they are taking this matter very seriously and it is still under review. Father Breezy is also expected to make a formal apology to the family.
In the picture she posted on Facebook, State Representative Janelle Bynum smiles with a sheriff's deputy in the background. But today she made it clear it was no fun when the deputy asked what she was doing last night.
You know, I stick out, right? And I'm okay with that. I think it's wonderful that this area found it within itself to elect me.
Today, Bynum took part in the Happy Valley 4th of July parade. Last night, she was working this neighborhood, knocking on doors of her voters, and someone called police, worried she was looking for things to steal. Bynum said she was jotting notes in her phone to remember the specific concerns of voters.
I hope that I can be a voice for people who look different from the mainstream, but I mean, honestly, I live in this neighborhood. I feel like I should be able to walk anywhere I want without being second-guessed, and my kids should be able to do that too.
Neighbors I met today can't believe it's happened. Margaret Sabins lived here 40 years.
Yes, definitely. I don't understand that at all.
Barbara Chilton says it's a diverse neighborhood.
She seems like a great lady. Unfortunately, I missed her when she came to my door. I was not home, and I'm sorry that happened. It shouldn't happen.
But Bynum is not the only politician to experience this in the greater Happy Valley Clackamas area. Joe Buck is a white politician and part of the Lake Oswego City Council. 2 months ago, he was also knocking on doors in the same general area as he ran for Metro Council.
While I was canvassing door to door out in Happy Valley, a neighbor out there called the sheriff.
Buck explained what he was doing and the deputy left, but it gave him a new awareness of the fear that some homeowners feel.
It's a shame that, you know, just walking on a sidewalk and going up and knocking on someone's front door would raise such suspicion that someone feels such a fear that they have to call the police in.
By the way, politicians do not need a permit to go door to door in the neighborhoods, but you do need one if you're trying to sell something. And each of the politicians told me that was the one thing a deputy asked them when they rolled up, whether they were selling something.
A school resource officer caught on camera slamming a Wake County student. That 8-second video captured this morning at Roseville High School and shared on social media throughout the day is a top local story on WNCN.com tonight. Good evening. I'm Sharon Taswell.
And I'm Sean Maroney. Thanks for joining us. That officer is now on paid administrative leave. CBS North Carolina's Amy Cutler has been on the story all day, getting new reaction tonight and talking to that student's mom. Amy?
Sean, Sharon, I spoke with her just after she arrived home from the hospital. She says her daughter has a concussion. Now, she didn't want to go on camera, but she says she believes that officer used excessive force and that the school system should have alerted her sooner.
The Rolesville Police Department tonight says it's reviewing this video. It was first posted to Twitter and shows a school resource officer at Rolesville High slamming a student to the ground. You can see him pick her up and lead her away. Police identifying that officer as Ruben De Los Santos. They say he's been an SRO at that school for nearly 4 years.
Officer De Los Santos has subsequently been placed on paid administrative leave.
Police Chief Bobby Langston reading a brief statement at the Board of Commissioners meeting, confirming the incident happened this morning near the cafeteria. That there was a fight between two female students and that De Los Santos was responding. The student's mother telling us she's outraged, that her daughter is just 15 and was trying to protect her sister. The chief says they're investigating.
We will work diligently to review any and all pertinent information so that we can provide an accurate account of the events.
I also spoke with a teen who took the video. She believed that De Los Santos used excessive force, and that's why she says she decided to post it on Twitter. Parents who saw that video had similar concerns.
I don't think an adult ever really should body slam a child, especially a female.
I'd like to know what happened prior to, it escalating, getting to that point. So if there's more to the video, I'd like to see it. I think as parents, we have a right to see it and know what's going on.
That, of course, is a big part of what police will be looking into now. The chief says De Los Santos was wearing a body camera, that they are examining that video, but he is not releasing it just yet. He also tells us that he's asking the FBI to conduct an independent investigation into that incident. Live in Rolesville, I'm Amy Cutler, CBS North Carolina.
Amy, thank you. Now, in addition to a call to parents today, Principal Deidre Lassiter released a letter to the school community saying in part, quote, "The safety of our students is always our first priority. It is vital that our children have a positive relationship with these law enforcement officials."
3 men denied service at a local CVS in Carytown.
Instead of checking out the customers at the counter, employees called the police and hid in the store.
8 News reporter Jonathan Costin talked to 2 of the customers who are still baffled over what happened.
Yeah, that's right, Juan and Christina. The 2 men I spoke with didn't understand why they couldn't go into the store and purchase items. Instead, they had the police called on them. Something strange happened to Rick Berry and his roommate Philip Blackwell when they went shopping in this Carytown drugstore last night. Berry asked an employee for one thing.
Sliced cheese. All I asked was for sliced cheese. And